Okay, here we go. I call this meeting of the Paducah Planning and Zoning Commission to order and ask that you stand with us, please, as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Summer, we call the roll, please.
Benberry, Mr. Bradford,
Here.
Mr. Morrison,
Here.
Ms. Shramky,
Here.
Mr. Shadle,
Here.
Mr. Wade,
Here.
Chair Cassis.
Here. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Shramky, I'm sorry, you have the approval of the minutes?
Do. I move that the reading of the minutes for July 17, 2017 be waived and that the minutes of said meeting as prepared by the secretary be approved as written.
Second.
Second by Bradford. Any corrections? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Shramky,
Aye.
Mr. Shadle,
Aye.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Chair Cassis.
Aye. Mr. Morrison, you have the motion to remove an item of business from the table.
Yes, ma'am. I move that item number 170717-1, a zoning text amendment of section 126-71 be removed from the table.
Second.
Second by Wade. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Ms. Shramky,
Aye.
Mr. Shadle,
Aye.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Chair Cassis.
Aye. The motion is still before us, but in order to remind everyone what that motion is, Mr. Wade, would you please read that for? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Shadle, would you read that for us?
I move the resolution entitled "A Resolution Constituting the Final Report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the Proposed Text Amendment of the Paducah Zoning Ordinance by amending Section 126-71, Off-Street Parking and Loading Areas" be adopted.
Thank you. That doesn't require a second because it's still on the table. However, I do want to remind you of some of the things that these amendments are doing. Number one, it would amend the parking requirements for several uses to be average with cities across Kentucky and with regional cities. That's one of the things that we discovered. Good evening. So one of the things that we discovered was that in certain areas, our parking requirements were more stringent than other cities, and we felt like we needed to be on an even playing field with those cities. So that's why we're amending those. Not all of our parking requirements, just ones that were too stringent. To remove the requirement for paving for storage units to help mitigate stormwater management, since storage units are typically low-impact land uses. Now, one of the things that came up at our last meeting and why we brought the held the item to this meeting was an item that Ms. Shramky brought up, which was there was nothing in the amendment that would say what kind of requirement was needed. If we weren't going to have solid surface, what was required? And so that's been added. Add beauty and barbershop parking requirements, average of the cities across the United States. That was not in our parking regulations. Add hotels and motels and daycares to the list of uses that require 10 by 18 parking spaces. The reason why is because when people are traveling, they need more space to get in and out of their cars. The same way with daycares. You have children who are getting in and out of vehicles, so that we felt like there needed to be larger parking spaces. And also add provisions for compact car parking spaces, which is something new, but you'll see in a lot of communities where they're making smaller spaces for smaller cars. Now, we're opening this up. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone who'd like to come forward and speak, we welcome that you come forward and speak. No? Is there anyone on the commission who has any questions or anything that you'd like to say about the changes in the requirements? No? Any
This will end
comments?
up being adopted and then end up in our new.
It's City
We'll
Commission.
go to the city commission,
Oh,
yes.
okay, that's right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, anything you'd like to discuss? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Shadle?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Benberry?
Aye.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison?
Aye.
Ms. Shramky?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Mr. Wade, you have the BD Paducah LLC waiver of subdivision.
I do. I move this commission receive and file the application of BD Paducah LLC for the proposed re-subdivision of property located at 150 McBride Lane. I further move that the requested approval be given in compliance with all other applicable provisions of the Paducah subdivision ordinance be waived.
Second.
Second by Morrison and Shadle. Thank you.
This is to subdivide out the stormwater tract behind it. A perpetual easement to get back there to that tract was established on the previous plat. Ms. Disser is here to answer any further questions that you all may have.
Anna, you might tell them who is going to maintain that stormwater.
Exactly, that was going to be my question.
It's actually, there was an easement and restriction agreement, which was recorded back in November. It's between BD Paducah and DSW, which is Drury Southwest. It's basically the intent, this was previously a pond that was managing stormwater for parcels in that vicinity. It's been revised, and as part of that agreement, once the pond was revised by BD Paducah, then we would basically subdivide out the tract and then convey it back to Drury Southwest. They are, now that construction is completed per this agreement, they're to take over maintaining the pond once again. But since they're going to be maintaining it and assessing all the various parcels who utilize it, their pro rata share, that was why it was in the agreement to basically convey it back.
Now, I know there were several items that the engineering department requested. Have all those been met?
My understanding is they have them.
Yes, I checked with Eric and Megan in engineering, and per them, their requirements and suggestions were on the new plat.
Perfect.
Who all benefits from this? Which property, adjacent property owners?
It's Drury Southwest, the Academy, and I believe there are 3 other parcels that are in that immediate area, which I don't have that with me.
Okay, but, so there are a number of property owners that do benefit from this, and it flows through.
It does,
And that agreement creates a maintenance agreement between those parties.
Correct. There was a previous maintenance agreement between all of the
Okay.
parties that was with Drury Southwest. And then when we came in to develop, we basically revised it, enlarged it, and then are going to basically convey it back to Drury Southwest. So all those parties are still part of that agreement. We're just adding in the academy.
Makes sense.
I believe there was a channel change too for Perkins Creek that affected that area originally when you all came
Right.
before us. That's going to be retained as well, I'm sure, on this particular plot.
That's my understanding. All this plat
Oh, that's
does
right, yeah.
is just subdivide out the stormwater parcel.
Are there any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Benberry?
Aye.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Morrison?
Aye.
Ms. Shramky?
Aye.
Mr. Shadle?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Thank you very much. Now, there's one other thing that we need to discuss tonight. We don't have any other items of business. However, our next scheduled meeting is the day of the eclipse, and I thought it was important to bring it before the commission and before the planning office, because that'll be happening at 1:22 in the afternoon, and we're supposed to be here at 5:30. If there are as many people here as they say are going to be here, some of us might not get here from the other side of town. So that's why I thought I ought to bring this up and see what your thoughts are.
think it's supposed to rain that day.
You're hoping, right?
Do we have any important big issues
And we have
coming
any
up for that
business?
day?
I haven't received anything yet. I've heard that there may be some plats in the works, but as far as concrete, I don't have anything.
Well, let's say you do get something. Would it be difficult for those, well, you don't know because you haven't gotten anything, but if we postponed for a week instead of having it on that day? Or would it be better to postpone, I don't know, for a day? That might be, that might be rough on everybody. I don't know about you, but I have some other things going on Tuesdays, but.
Well, I think.
That would be city commission day
Yes.
anyway.
That's true, you're
Well,
right. That would be a good reason for not having
But
it.
you could probably, their meetings, the Board of Adjustment, they meet at 5:30 on the last Monday of every month.
Mhm.
But their meetings are usually over by 6, so maybe you could have something at.
Do they meet here, or do they meet back
Yeah,
there?
here.
They meet here, okay. Oh, the Board of Adjustment, I'm
Board of
sorry, yeah. I was thinking
I
of the
think
Human Rights
Paducah will
Commission.
not necessarily clear out immediately after the eclipse. I think that for a couple of days, we'll still have a lot of people here.
That's what I'm afraid of, actually.
yes.
That's the reason why I brought it up.
One of the things that we could do is if I do receive anything, 2 or 3 things, Ms. Gracias, maybe get with you and see if we can have a called meeting
Sure.
if we need to.
Sure.
If something is pressing, we could do that.
Otherwise, however, the first Monday of September will be Labor Day, so we
Yeah.
won't be here for that. So I don't want to hold people up.
Yeah.
I'd like to go ahead and, try to plan something if there's business that needs to be attended to. So perhaps what Mr. Key recommended would be good, like 6 o'clock on that next Monday, if we get information.
And sometimes
Okay.
BOA doesn't even meet.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then kind of keep that in mind, if you don't mind. The following Monday is a possibility for a meeting.
What is that date?
That would be the 28th.
Thank you.
I would prefer
6
that
o'clock.
over the
Me
day
too.
of the eclipse,
I would too.
if need be. And
I'm afraid I'm going to get stuck in Lyon County and not be able to get.
You might even not even make it to Livingston County.
Yeah.
You all are going to be right in the center of the totality zone, you know
Yeah,
that,
they're
don't you?
saying just hunker down like it's a bad storm coming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And,
Yes.
surely not.
Well, and the bad part is I'm really thinking that cell service will not be functioning.
boy.
So anyone
Yeah.
who needed to call and say, I can't be there, wouldn't actually be able to get cell service either. So anyway, I thought I would bring that up because I thought it was
Thank you.
important for us to discuss.
So at this point, we are going to change the meeting from the 21st to the 28th?
Yes,
At
if we
6.
have, if we have business.
Okay.
And if the Board of Adjustment is not meeting, we'll meet at 5:30. However, if they are meeting, we'll come at 6. Does that sound okay?
And I'll be glad to let you all know that.
Please.
Yeah, because the
That'd be
BOA
great.
has to, you've got to be on their docket, quite a few days before.
Sure.
So if there's nobody that's filed, and they do have plats coming in, that makes it easy.
Yes,
All you need to do is you'll just notify the paper.
sure. And if you'll email all of us.
Yep, I can do that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
If there's no other business to come before the commission tonight, we're adjourned.